Senator, from our view, the budget number 961 meets the requirements and threats that we face. And
that's not the number. The number is 892.6. You're adding reconciliation. That's my whole point. Why not give us a base budget of 961 or whatever the right number is, what you consider the right number, and then we can operate and make our decisions. Why do it in this bifurcated way that really is fooling the American people about what the defense budget is? I don't understand why we can't have an honest, straightforward budget instead of this son of Oko that you're putting over on us. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Imagine watching Congress grind to a halt, not because of policy, not because of partisanship, but because Pete Hegseth couldn't answer a simple question. One number, one budget. And somehow, he turned it into a national embarrassment. Angus King didn't just challenge him, he detonated the room. What followed wasn't a discussion, it was a public dissection of Pete Hegseth's leadership, his judgment, and his grasp on reality. And trust me, this was only the beginning.
Mr. Secretary, I'm somewhat puzzled. I grew up in Virginia where Robert E. Lee was revered. I think when I was a kid, his birthday was a school holiday. But as I grew older and learned more about American history, I learned that he fit the classic definition of a traitor. He took up arms against his country. He broke his oath as a member of the United States Army, which he took upon entering his career at West Point. Why are you going through these incredible gymnastics, finding current soldiers or other soldiers to rename? And you slipped a minute ago. You said we're returning these bases to their original names. Robert E. Lee, leading general of the Confederacy, Pickett, the other names. Why are you doing this? I don't understand what the motivation is to rename bases for people who took up arms against their country on behalf of slavery. What possible motivation can there be for this? Who is telling you to do this? Who is urging you to do this?
Senator, the veterans and service members across the country who have deployed from Fort Bragg or Fort Benning or Fort Hood or Fort Pickett, there's a legacy, there's a connection to those bases and to those places, to what they trained for there, what they did for, and what they came home back to. That matters to them. Ask enough of them, as I do, all the time, before and later. And we recognize the service of those who were put into the replacement. No one's disputing that. I would never dispute that. What we're looking at is erasing history, erasing names, erasing base names that service members are tied to.
Talk
to people that serve at Bragg. Ask people that serve at Fort Bragg or Fort Benning if they like the fact that the names have been returned. And to a man and to a woman, they will tell you, thank God we're back to Fort Bragg, and thank God we're back. And thankfully, because so many men and women in this country have served, there's a Benning and a Bragg and a Pickett and a Hood has a Silver Star or a Medal of Honor that we could rename the base to because of the limits of what Congress allowed us to do. So this is something we've been proud to do, something that's important for the morale of the Army, and those communities appreciate that we've returned it back to what it was instead of trying to play this game of erasing names.
We're not erasing history, Mr. Secretary. We're recognizing history and recognizing that mistakes have been made in this country. The greatest of all was the Civil War, where people took up arms against their country on behalf of the institution of slavery. And to continue the practice of recognizing those people and honoring them by the naming of these bases is, I believe, an insult to the people of the United States. Let me talk about the budget. I don't understand why the budget is coming to us in two pieces. Why not give us an honest base budget instead of putting a piece of it in reconciliation? As I understand it, OMB is saying we're going to have a flat defense budget for the next 4 or 5 years. Are we planning reconciliation every year from now on? Why not give us an honest budget telling us what your priorities are, and then we can consider it. This committee always works in a bipartisan basis on the defense budget. We all want to see some increases in the defense budget, and yet you're giving us this this fake, here's a piece of the budget, here's another. You're cutting, in the base budget, you're cutting shipbuilding in half and saying, well, we're going to make it up in reconciliation. Are we going to have reconciliation every year, which basically, by the way, puts a significant part, 10 or 15% of the defense budget in a wholly partisan decision-making process, whereas in the history of this committee, it's always been bipartisan. Why are we doing it this way?
Senator, from our view, the budget number 961 meets the requirements and threats that we face. And
that's not the number. The number is 892.6. You're adding reconciliation. That's my whole point. Why not give us a base budget of 961 or whatever the right number is, what you consider the right number, and then we can operate and make our decisions. Why do it in this bifurcated way that really is fooling the American people about what the defense budget is?
We're not trying to fool anybody, sir. It's two bills, one budget. We're working with OMB, and we feel very comfortable with the number of 961 billion.
Why don't you give us a straight-up budget for the Defense Department? That's my question.
Senator, this is a straight-up budget for the Defense Department, and it's a 13% increase over what Joe Biden gave us.
It is a two-part defense budget. Part of it is in reconciliation instead of in the budget that's being presented to this committee. This committee only has a partial review of the budget. I don't understand why we can't have an honest, straightforward budget instead of this son of Oko that you're putting over on us. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That answer didn't just dodge the issue, it exposed it. This wasn't about one hearing or one mistake. What came next ripped the mask off and dragged Pete Hegseth into the spotlight as the face of Pentagon chaos. Hegseth didn't just stumble here, he detonated his own credibility in real time. Every excuse, every contradiction, every deflection made him look less like a leader and more like a liability. Angus King wasn't buying it, and neither was anyone watching. With every failed defense, Hegseth revealed a Pentagon spiraling out of control under his watch, a department bleeding billions with no answers and no accountability, and King didn't stop there. He tore straight through the deception behind the defense budget, exposing the two-part funding trick designed to bury the real numbers from the public. He called it what it is: manipulation. Billions vanish, shipbuilding gets slashed, readiness collapses, and the Pentagon's top man can't even explain where the money's going. Hegseth wasn't leading that day, he was scrambling. Here's where the hearing went nuclear. King dropped bombshell after bombshell, peeling back layer after layer of dysfunction buried inside the Pentagon. Behind those staged numbers sit canceled shipbuilding programs, crippled drone defense systems, and whispered reports of classified cyber warfare freezes that insiders claim are leaving America dangerously exposed. And when pressed, Hegseth had nothing. No explanation, no plan, just silence. Then came the most chilling moment. Angus King warned, point blank, that US military readiness is slipping while adversaries surge ahead. China is expanding its naval dominance, cyber threats are evolving faster than we can counter them, and while Russia pushes deeper into Eastern Europe, the Pentagon is burning through billions without showing results. Under Hegseth's leadership, America isn't just falling behind, we're walking into an ambush with our eyes closed, and if this is what's being revealed in public, imagine what's locked inside classified briefings. Where's the missing money going? How deep do these security failures run? And just how much damage has Pete Hegseth's recklessness already done to America's defense? Here's the real kicker. Multiple insiders are now leaking that senior Pentagon officials are quietly clashing with Hegseth behind closed doors. Reports suggest mounting frustration, with some accusing him of sidelining experts, ignoring intelligence warnings, and prioritizing optics over actual security strategy. If that's true, this isn't just a budget crisis, it's a leadership meltdown unfolding at the highest levels of America's defense. One thing's clear, this isn't just about incompetence anymore, it's about danger, deception, and a Pentagon teetering closer to collapse than anyone dares to admit. And judging by what we've seen so far, this story is only getting started.